I've had a few people ask me about our chicken run and chickens and how we integrate them in our veggie patch. So I'm going to give you a tour of our setup. I wasn't going to do it because we are thinking of totally changing our chicken setup, but this has worked really well for us over the last 6 years, and it has helped us keep the chickens away from the garden. I'll talk about the pros and cons of this setup as I go through. But basically what we have is a very long run. It stretches on our boundary. It's 1 meter wide here, and it is around, I think it's around 12 meters long. So they've got that, and that's where they free range all day. And sometimes we let them out, but only for supervised visits. I had a few people ask me, how do you keep the chickens out of the garden? Well, it's very supervised when they're out and around where we grow food. Sometimes I will let them free range all the time. If I don't have anything that is quite precious, if I don't care if they're going to dig it up, or if I've got things with nets over it. So at the moment, that's what's happening. They're getting full range of our yard because everything that is precious to me has a net over the top, so they can't get into it. So anyway, let's have a look at this run. So as you can see, it's about 1 meter wide. We've just reused things that we had. This fence here was actually the original fence, and we've installed the new wooden fence. So this was here before. So we've just reused this to make this run. Our initial plans was to fill this with fruit trees, but because we use a deep litter system with our chicken run to keep the smells down, which is basically just adding about 30 centimeters of mulch onto the ground here, we found that getting the new mulch in was quite painful, particularly with this very, very narrow space. Getting wheelbarrows in and out was a little bit painful. So the only thing that really survived was, because we moved them out, not because they died, but the mulberry tree, and we kept that there because it was quite prolific, and to move it, the roots were too deep. And we've just got a passion fruit, which actually self-seeded there. So we've just let it grow. I think we protected it a little bit by putting a cage around it to get it going. But once it sort of got up and out of the chicken's reach and onto the fence line, it's done really well. So as you can see, there's a lot of weeds here. The thing that I love about this run is it is where I put all of my garden scraps. I just chuck it in and the chickens process it down. And eventually we get really good compost that I can use to top up my garden beds. So it's just handy just to dump it over, and then I can sort of come in and get a wheelbarrow of really good compost and put it to top up our gardens. We use these Dynachook water feeders. It actually needs a clean, that's pretty gross. They're pretty good in terms of the water doesn't get kicked over. I do find these, I think they're called lubbing things, they break fairly often, but other than that, it's pretty good. I would like to get a bigger barrel and have more of them attached to the barrel, these lubbing things, and that is what I will probably do with the new coop setup that we're thinking about doing. Along the run, I've planted a lot of herbs and scented plants just to keep the smell down, because that's one thing. We are on a regular size suburban block. We don't want to have to deal with smells in our chicken coop, and that's another reason why I don't actually give them food scraps. The food scraps go into the compost bins. I only give them garden scraps, because I found that if we give them things like rotting fruit and vegetables, it's just going to attract rodents, and it's going to smell. So that's the way that we manage it. But here's some plants that I've got. I've got some wormwood, I've got some comfrey, I've got some geranium, I've got some perennial basils along here, lots of flowers. We even have sugarcane and a edible jasmine along here. So my goal was really just to have a lot of scented pretty plants, herbs and things like that. You can see here we have these extender pieces and arches. We actually had to extend it up because we had some chickens that could jump, not fly, jump, because we had clipped their wings. They jumped out of this height. So you may want to make sure if you're setting up your own chicken coops, just check your height of your run, because this was way too low. Our 2 chickens that we've got now are they're big chickens, they can't jump that high, but some of the smaller ones can, so just something to keep in mind. But we did initially start to look at covering it, that's why those arches are there. to protect from the wild birds, but then it became a big job because of the mulberry tree. We're like, oh, we're gonna have to cut the chicken run off, and they actually really love hanging out underneath the mulberry tree, so we didn't want to take that away from them. So it kind of ended up being a half done project. But yeah, definitely check your heights if you're looking at making a run like this. You might just need to enclose it fully. The coop itself is falling down. We made it with, you see, this has dropped so much. All of this has been eaten out by white ants. It was made with recycled hardwood timber that we got from a recycled house place. Yeah, we made it like a loft style. We've just used marine ply to clad it, and it's done really well. We've got a roof over the entire thing. It's probably, the actual nesting area is around 1 meter by 1 meter, and the coop, the run, I guess, the mini run part of it is around 2 meters by 1 meter. We also use the Dynachook for the food. I was resistant at first to get one of these, and I just used to feed them. I just used to throw the scratch mix on the ground, but I did find that that attracted a lot of wild birds, and as a consequence we got a lot of issues. We got chicken mites, we got the scaly leg mites, we got so many issues from those wild birds coming in. So this has stopped the wild birds pretty well. I think rats, particularly the big ones, can get into it. So if you've got a rodent problem, then maybe have a look at that, whether or not that's whether there's other options that you can get, but it's worked really well for us before. So some things I would do differently. If I was going to do the loft floor again, I would use a mesh and not the actual marine ply that we've used. I would also not do it in timber. I would make a metal coop, use timber for the perches only, and also probably the walk up if it was a loft style. When we first built the coop, we actually didn't have the corrugated iron on the little run extension, but we found that our rain that we get is so torrential and it blows in that we had to add that extra extension. At the back of the coop, we do have access to grab eggs, so it's just very simple system. Oh, look there, there's an egg. So yeah, that's pretty much our coop. We clean out the nesting boxes fairly regularly, and with that, the straw, I use that for my compost bin, but today I'm going to actually use it to top off one of the beds that I'm resting, which I won't be planning out until probably February, March, so around 3 months time, so it should have a good amount of time to have broken down by then. We just use sugarcane mulch. Look at that, you paid top dollar for activated mulch like that. But honestly, in all honesty though, don't put that direct on anywhere that you're planting. Chicken manure is so strong, it really does need to break down before you put it anywhere near your plants. So add it to compost bins or beds that you're resting that you're not going to plant into for a while. Okay, so some ways that we use our chickens with our veggie patch. Obviously we get the compost from the chicken run, which is really great for topping up beds. We also give them a lot of our garden waste, so they process that for us. We just chuck it in, we don't cut it up or anything, and they sort it out for us. The other thing is we also get the bedding from their nesting boxes, and I use that as a mulch on beds that I'm resting, or I add it to my compost bin just to give the compost a bit of a boost. That manure is really great for the garden. The other thing as we do as well is we chuck them in a garden bed sometimes to give it a bit of turnover. They go through and they pick out any bugs and grubs that are in excess. That's really probably my favorite thing about them in the veggie patch. And of course we do occasionally get some eggs. So just check your local council restrictions on how many numbers of chickens you can have, and also where you can locate your chicken coop. I know in Brisbane City Council that you cannot have it on a boundary. We're lucky here that we have a park on our boundary, so we've only got one side that has a neighbour, and the side that we have our chickens is the one that backs onto the park. So keep in mind that if you're setting up a chicken coop. Now we only have 2 chickens at the moment. We just had one that's passed away, and we're looking at getting a couple of more once we sort out the new chicken coop situation. We've got a Plymouth Rock which we raised as a day old. She actually became quite aggressive, but my son has tamed her pretty well now. And this, the white one, I think is a Leghorn crossed with a light Sussex. So when my parents retired from farming and decided they didn't want any more animals, she came to live with us, and she's been a pretty good egg layer. She gets really, really clucky. We probably don't get that many eggs from them, usually from August until it starts to hit those mid-30s consistently, usually around December. And then we've got nothing, then they turn into lawn ornaments. In the past we have had a Australorp hybrid, and she was definitely my favorite, really good with the kids and just laid every day non-stop. She did only live to about 18 months old, whereas Pesto here, the Plymouth Rock, she's older than my son. So she is now, she'd be turning 8 in April. So she's old girl, she's got a little bit of a hobble on her. The other chicken is probably around 5, so they've done pretty good, really, considering that the hybrid only lived for 18 months before she just died. It could have been a snake, I don't know if it was something ominous, but she just didn't get up one day. So when I first started looking at chickens, I did a lot of research on breeds, and I wanted ones that would do a lot of digging. And I know that sounds kind of counterintuitive in terms of, oh my God, they're going to destroy your garden. But I wanted chickens that were going to turn over compost. And what I did find was the Wyandotte. I'm not sure if you're saying that right, but that was one of our other chickens who just died recently. She was really good at turning over compost. Issues that we've had with chickens are the mites, the red mites. They were horrific. It was terrible to get rid of those. I do believe that Bugs for Bugs now actually have predatory mites that you can put in your chicken coops to avoid those problems. But we had to basically end up using Coop-X, which is a poison, on the chicken coop to get rid of them because they were just covered. We tried a lot of organic options first, but the chickens were too traumatized, so we did just have to go in there and really bomb the place. The other issues are the scaly leg mite, which we are still dealing with. It just makes their feet look horrible. I believe that they're gone. It's just that the healing process is extended. They do attract rats and rodents, so I think the best thing you can do is keep everything tidy. Make sure that whatever food scraps you're giving them, that you're taking it out at night, because that's when the rats are going to come out. Having said that, we did have one very brazen rat that I used to see going into the food during the day. It was a massive rat. I actually thought it was a rabbit when I first saw it. It was so huge. So yeah, that's just something to keep in mind. Like, if you practice good hygiene, you should be pretty good, but they do attract rodents. In terms of the new chicken setup, I actually just want it to be a large rectangle because my son loves the chickens. We lost our beagle last year and he's really been craving pets. I'm too traumatized to get another dog. I don't want to go through that stress again of losing a loved one. With the chickens, I don't get so attached to. So we're going to make it more of a rectangle, similar to what we've got without the loft, and wider. And we're going to move them out here because they love this area. So this is kind of like my food forest. This is where I've got my coffee beans, I've got banana trees, there's a monstera, there's a peppercorn vine. So they love it out here. And it's a really challenging place to grow anything because of the neighboring trees. So we're going to move them out into this area, let them free range in this area. It will be a lot larger, and then have the coop that we can lock them in when we go away. There's a few things that I would love to know your advice if you're a chicken lover, a chicken expert. I want to know what kind of base you guys put in your coops. I do love the deep litter system, but I am looking at sand as a base. I'm not sure if that's going to be a lot more maintenance. As you guys, if you've watched any of my videos before, you know I'm a bit of a low maintenance kind of gardener. So I do love the fact that I can just put in the deep litter probably twice a year and it just looks after itself and it doesn't smell. And that's probably the biggest thing here with living on a regular suburban block, where our fence lines are quite close to our house because our house takes up the majority of our block. So I'd love to know what you guys use for your base for your chicken coops, any other tips, anything else that you would wish you had done when you built your chicken coop. I would love to hear it. So the other thing, I also want to pave all the way around it, and I also don't want to have it right up against the fence line. I just found that having the chicken coop right on the fence, it's the same with gardens. They're like a rodent freeway with the rails of the fence palings. So I want to have access all the way around, and I'm thinking of paving around the outside and just to keep it really tidy. So we can have 6 chickens for the size of our block here, and I recommend only 3. 3 is a good number. We are going to get 3 new ones because Pesto here, I don't know how much longer she's got, and the other one, her sister just dropped dead, so I don't know how long she's got left. So we'll get 3 new ones once we set up the new coop, and mostly they will be kid-friendly chickens, and I'll get 1 hybrid layer that's just going to be another Australorp. I was so happy with our soy. She was just such a great chicken, so I really want to get another one of hers. Anyway, that's my chicken tips. I would love to hear yours because there's always something to learn, so please leave a comment below. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I will see you guys next time.